We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Wrestling Through the Decades. Tonight we have the most recent decade, that of 2010s, and we've got some great guests from the alumni side joining head coach Dan Wernsberger and one of our current student athletes, Zach Hartman. Zach is a junior 165-pounder from Bell Vernon, Pennsylvania, and we're real glad that Zach has taken the time to join us tonight. I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor. Geisinger has done a great job throughout the pandemic, assisting the whole central Pennsylvania community. And of course, they do a great job day in and day out, helping our student athletes here at Bucknell. Without any further ado, let me introduce the guest we have, and then I'll turn it over to Coach. So our first guest from the class of 2016 is Joe Stolfi. Joe is a 4-year letter winner and 3-time team captain. His 37-8 overall match record in 2014-2015 ranks as the second best single season in terms of winning percentage at 82.2%. His career winning percentage of 74.5% ranks 10th on the school chart. He ranks 3rd on the Bucknell career wins list with 120. He owns both the school's single season and career pins records at 23 and 65 respectively. He was a 4-time EIWA place winner at heavyweight, including runner-up in 2015 and 2016, and overall champion in 2014. He was also a 4-time NCAA qualifier, where he won a total of 6 matches, including 4 by fall. He was a 3-time winner of the team's William A. Graham Most Outstanding Wrestler Award, and Joe won the Bison Club Award at the Athletic Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2017 is Victor Lopez. Victor was a 4-year letter winner and 2-time team captain. He ranks 7th on Bucknell's career wins list with 108. He was a 4-time EIWA place winner, including finishing 4th twice. He was a 2-time NCAA qualifier, where he won 3 matches, a 2-time EIWA Academic Achievement Award winner, and he was the co-recipient of the team's William A. Graham Most Outstanding Wrestler Award in 2016. Victor won the John F. Zeller Award at the Athletic Department's Senior Awards Dinner. Our next guest from the class of 2018 is Tom Sleigh. Tom is a 4-year letter winner and team captain in 2016. He ranks 13th all-time at Bucknell with 89 victories. He was a 3-time EIWA place winner, including a runner-up finish in 2017 at 197 pounds, a 3-time NCAA qualifier, and a 2-time EIWA Academic Achievement Award winner. He was a co-recipient of the team's William A. Graham Most Outstanding Wrestler Award in 2016. And our final guest, also from the class of 2018, is Tyler Smith. Tyler was a 4-year letter winner and team captain in 2016. He owns a share of the school record for winning percentage in a single season in dual meets at 16-0, set in 2017-2018. He ranks 9th all-time at Bucknell with 107 victories. He won 74.3% of his overall matches to rank 11th all-time at Bucknell. He was a 3-time EIWA place winner, including a runner-up finish in 2018 at 141 pounds. He was a 4-time NCAA qualifier, where he won a total of 5 matches, and he was a 2-time winner of the team's William A. Graham Most Outstanding Wrestler Award. Tyler won the Lee S. Bud Rank Memorial Award at the Athletic Department's Senior Awards Dinner. So, Coach, I know that you wish that these guys had eligibility left, but I don't think that's the case. Turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Newt. Thanks, Hartman, for being here, and thanks, guys. I don't even know what to say. These guys mean the world to me. There's no question these guys go down in history as one of the best groups, best classes of anyone in Bucknell program history that dates back to the 1940s. I mean, impressive resumes here. You know, Tyler Smith, what wasn't mentioned, I don't think, is that he was, 2-time top 12 guy at the NCAA tournament. I know that's not something he wants to talk about. It's heartbreaking for him, but man, that's impressive to get to that blood round 2 years in a row and put himself in that position and give himself a chance. And then one of the most impressive things is Joe Stolfi, and I always talk about it. 120 career wins, which ranks third, but over half of those are by pin. At the Division I level with our schedule that we wrestled, wow, it's really impressive. And then not only are the credentials on the map, but these guys' academic achievement as well. So I'm proud of each one of these guys. Yeah, I wish I did have them back, but they had outstanding careers, and super pumped and proud of these dudes. So thanks, guys, for what you gave to the program. I know a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You gave part of your body. I look at Stolfi and really sacrificing all that you had to make this program great and what you believed in. So thank you for doing that. I'll just start out, and Stolf, I'll start with you with the first question, just before we hash out and get into memories and things like that. Just give our fan base out there, our other alumni base out there, and our current wrestlers, just give them a little update of your personal life, where you live, your career, family, etc. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to kick it off. Todd, thanks for starting everything. And it's probably better that I don't have any more years of eligibility, at least for my body's sake. So just to start off, I'm in Philly. I'm fortunate and honored to be working for the Graham Company, where I get to learn from Bucknell's finest, the best in the business, Bill Graham. And at Graham, we work with large, complex businesses, and we purchase insurance for them and also take the lead on their risk management. I live in a section of Philadelphia called Fairmount, and everything is good over here.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for the update. Sleigh, Tom, let us know where you're at. Let the fan base out there and our wrestlers know where you're at, what you're doing.
Yeah, so thanks for having me too. Unfortunately, I live close to Stolfi. I'm in Philadelphia as well, kind of outside the city, but I travel a lot. I'm a territory manager for a gas company, so I have all like Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, and PA. So, and just kind of expanded over towards the West Coast now. So I travel quite a bit, and I'm in Philly, and that's what I do. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Tommy. Smitty, give us an update as far as where you're at. Let everyone know what you're doing.
Yeah, those two are pretty hard to follow up, with their big fancy jobs and all. But so I'm actually a coach here at Army West Point. So Coach Wernsberger is actually a rival now, right, Wernsy? But so I'm the head coach here at West Point Prep. So, guys that don't have, perfect SAT scores and things of that nature, high GPAs, they come to me for a year and they just get their academics up. They spend 1 year adjusting to this military lifestyle. And then I'm also the head coach of the RTC here at West Point as well. So very fortunate to be part of the IWA still, and especially a part of, here at Army West Point.
Yeah. Thanks, Smitty. We're proud of you that you're in the business, and you've always had a passion and love for the sport. It's not a surprise that you're in the coaching business and giving back to something that's given you so much, right? And we're working on that rivalry. It's not quite a rivalry until we start winning some of these dual matches. So we're working on it, though. I promise you that. Victor, give us an update if you don't mind. If you're able to, I want you to be safe, obviously, but if you can just briefly tell us where you're at and what you're doing. Thank you.
Yep, I can talk. I just want to be able to look at the camera for obvious reasons. But right after college, I went to Philly, worked at the Graham Company for a year, and then decided I wanted to move back to help coach my brother out in Poway. So then Bill Graham was actually very generous and was able to help me out and find a job in San Diego. Then I found a job also in insurance out in La Jolla, where I worked on the property and casualty side for a while. And then after working there for about a year and a half, I decided that I want to kind of go coaching full time. So I've been coaching and like substitute teaching throughout the day, but then I coach at night from about 4 to 9. That includes Poway, the elite club. So that'd be kids from 8 to 14, and then also the high school club, which is about 14 to 18, of course. And then a bunch of private lessons. So yeah, a lot of wrestling now. So I'm glad to be back in it and involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for the update on that. I know your little brother's a hammer, and hopefully we can work another Lopez out to the East Coast. We're working on it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah.
That's definitely my hope. So, but thanks guys for the updates. Let everyone know where you're at. I think it's important. I got one more question for each of you. It's the same question that all you guys will answer before I turn it over to Zach. And just and I'll start with you, Victor, if you want to roll with it and just keep going. Just take us back to tell us about your recruiting experience and ultimately, how you chose to wrestle at Bucknell.
Yeah, so going through the recruiting process, I think I had a couple of schools looking at me, and mostly in California. And then I had one letter from Bucknell that arrived at my doorstep, and I was excited to see what it was about. I was able to go out there for an official visit, I believe in October or September, and it was just beautiful. The campus was beautiful. I had already known a lot about the academic side of Bucknell, so I was already sold on that, the idea that there's, 11 kids to every professor there, or 11 students to every professor. That's awesome. It's kind of hard to fall through the cracks with that kind of, ratio. And other than that, the wrestling was great. I think we were in the top 25 when I was there, and I know that you guys were peeking into that once before I got there. So that was already huge in my mind. And then there was names like LaValle and now I'm forgetting another hammer there, the Showtime. What do they call him? What's his name again? Werns?
Rendos.
Yes.
Yeah, the main event.
Yeah, the main event. I remember a lot about the main event, so that was huge. But then, just walking through campus, I was pretty much sold with the academics and athletics. And then one last thing that sold me as we're walking through it, my dad, as we're walking towards Fria's Hall, my dad just said, I just feel smarter just being here, just breathing the air of Bucknell. I feel smarter. So that's when I was really sold, and I wanted to commit, that day. So it was a fun process. I really enjoyed it.
It's cool. That's awesome. Dana just popped in there and just noticed all you guys and got really excited. She wants to get the boys to come see you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think she went, Tom Sleigh! Before I turn it over to Smitty and Stolfi, the one thing I wanted to say, and I really think I need to get it in there, these guys go down where we went back-to-back years, this group of guys, and bringing home a trophy from the EIWA tournament in 2015 and 2016, back-to-back years. That says a lot about these guys' competitive spirits and attitudes and their toughness and their ability. So, Smitty, I'll turn it over to you just to talk about the recruiting process and why you chose to wrestle at Bucknell.
Yeah, so actually Bucknell was the very first school to ever reach out to me. I'll give a big shout out to Coach Gibby here. Actually took me under his wing there for a year at VMI, got me into this coaching world. So Coach Gibby is the first guy to ever reach out to me. And that meant a lot to me. It meant he had faith in me before, I was this big state champ or had all these accolades. It was really cool to have someone in my corner from the very start and never leave if I had a bad match. And I just knew that it was special to work, with a staff at such a high level on the athletic side. And then the academic side, I'll say sold my dad a little more myself. But just trying to set yourself up for the rest of your life. And, maybe for me, it's not that academic side. It's the athletic side. And that's what I cling more towards. But I couldn't be happier with how I chose Bucknell, and obviously me being 3 hours away from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually where Hartman's from. It's kind of a no-brainer, close enough to home so Pops can come up, watch me wrestle, and far enough away to get away from Pops as well.
Yeah, it seems like that theme is the opportunity, not just, athletically in the EIWA conference, the league, I should say, but academically, life after wrestling, life after Bucknell. So, thanks, Smitty. I know Gibby for sure he didn't miss a beat with you and did a phenomenal job, awesome job. The guys, these boys want to just pop in real quick and say hi.
What's up?
Max and Cade.
What's up, guys?
Change their football practice right now. So, but these guys are getting ready to go to club. They're heading to wrestling club practice. So, did you want to say anything? Did you guys want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
All right. Stolf, talk to us about your recruiting experience and why you chose Bucknell.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. I had no idea where Bucknell was until I got a letter from Coach Hoffman. he was the assistant at the time. And the more I learned about the school, the better it was. I remember early on, my parents, they suggested that I make a spreadsheet and, put what I liked about schools and what I didn't like about schools. And you should have seen some of the categories I had. There's anything from like the quality of food to the colors to what the wrestling room looked like. But I had one checkbox for academics, and it was my major. I wanted to be an engineering major. Learned pretty quickly. Bucknell's engineering program was top notch, so I could check off that box. And first time coming on the campus, you like Victor had said, you immediately fall in love. It's a campus that you see in a movie. So then from a wrestling perspective, I started meeting all the guys, and it was very clear that there was a good culture, and it was a true wrestling family. And I really felt that the academic would take care of itself, but from what my goals were athletically, I felt Bucknell had the tools and resources for me to achieve my goals. So I remember sitting there in Warren's office, and he looks at me and goes, hey Stolf, you gonna be my guy? And couldn't say no.
I love it. I think I did the same thing to Shane.
I think you did the same thing to everybody, but that's all right.
Yeah.
I felt special.
Yeah. You're our guy. Let's go.
I remember it was great being the guy, and then I got here my freshman year, and it's like, oh, well, this guy Victor, he's going to be our guy. And it's like, it was always on. Everybody was your guy.
Victor might have been my main guy, though.
Victor's definitely your main guy.
Coaches aren't supposed to have favorites, but I might have a slight favoritism to Victor. Last time I was able to wrestle at all, period, like any type of live, was Victor's last year. I've been shut down since, Victor, man. My body still hasn't recovered from your senior year when we used to spar like twice a week or whatever it was. Woo.
Yeah, I tell all my guys out here about that. That's probably like the most I've improved in a season.
You officially
ended that workout, so I remember it very fondly as well.
You officially ended my live wrestling in practice. That was the last year I've done it. My body just hasn't recovered since.
Yeah, I've tried to get him to come back. He wouldn't.
I did a little bit your freshman year, Zach. A little bit. I tried, and I was like, I struggled, man.
Zach, it's all right. You don't want to wrestle him. He's got invisible legs. It's impossible to get.
That's right.
He doesn't stop moving. They're invisible.
That's right.
I've been able to catch him. I don't.
Yeah. Zach just came in as a higher caliber than I did, so that's why. You have to get ready right away for him.
Well, hey, listen, I'm going to turn it over to Zach to ask. He's going to ask you guys all the same question, or he'll ask a question and all you guys will answer it. Hopefully he'll do better than who was it last night?
Did Sleigh answer that question?
Huh?
Coach, did Sleigh answer that
question? Oh, I'm sorry, Sleigh.
I don't have to answer if you don't want me to.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Yeah, it's all right.
Tell us about the recruiting process briefly.
I'll be quick. So, basically, the first thing I remember was Gibby and Warren stopping over at the house, and Gibby ate all my parents' food, and Warren's talked my ear off, and same with Stolfi. He kind of looked at me and said, "Hey, I want a first national champion. You're going to be the guy," type of deal thing. So kind of went through there, got onto campus, and fell in love with the campus. I remember walking down the hill at night, and the whole swimming area was lit up, and the basketball arena was lit up. I was like, this place is awesome. And I knew it was a phenomenal wrestling program, and I knew the academics were a great place, so I was right on board. Was that brief enough?
That's perfect. Gibby, I remember eating at your place. Gibby ate a lot.
Yeah, he took it down. We should
have Gibby on this call. I don't know why we don't have anyone. All right, so now I'll officially turn it over to Dr. Hartman. You got a lot to follow here with these credentials of these dudes, Hartman. I know you're on your way, and
I'm getting there. I'm still in college, so
a couple more years.
They got me on that.
Yeah, come on.
I got upwards of 8 to 10 more years. So I got a little bit of a road ahead of me, but that's all right.
All right, well he's gonna ask you guys a question, and each of you guys answer it. So I'll turn it over to Zach.
Okay, so let's start with Stolfi. So what advice would you give me or any other wrestlers that are in the program today about the college wrestling experience at Bucknell?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in short, the advice is to own your career. The phrase that I got that from, there's actually a Bucknell engineering alumni. He gave a talk, I think in my junior or senior year, and he was an engineering guy. He said that's what he said, own your career. I thought it spoke to me because it was kind of what we lived by before. So in short, if other guys on the team look at Smitty and they say, hey, I'm going to do everything that Smitty does because I want to be to the caliber that Smitty is. Or, the classic, I did everything coach told me to do. Like, why am I not winning more? I think for you and for other guys, what it comes down to is the only person who knows Zach Hartman the best is Zach Hartman. No one knows you better than you. So if everyone mirrors everything you do, they're not going to have the same exact success. My advice, take control of the process. Everybody, they have an agenda of what they want you to be. You're including your coaches, but it honestly has to come from you. And I guess, Warrens, you can close your ears for this part, but there's something you don't agree with, speak up, because if it's not something that you think is best and you don't get the results you want by doing it that way, you're going to, find someone to blame. So don't let there be anybody to blame but yourself. And when you're invested in this process, not because, your parents want you to be, or your coaches or your teammates, but because you truly want to believe in the process and do it, that's where you're really going to have the most success.
I like that answer. I like that answer. I actually, I'm sorry, Coach.
Yeah, if I can jump in there real quick, I agree. That's so. We just had this conversation kind of with Rendo. Right, but that's all right. You're in the heat of battle, and you're in the trenches together. It's all right sometimes to agree to disagree on certain things, as long as we're all moving in the same direction. So Stolfi, I think you're spot on.
Yeah, I think that was perfectly said with what he said. Like, that was a lot of what I was actually learning this year, just in terms of like this past year. I was actually learning that throughout the year, just in terms of like, instead of mirroring the greats, I would much rather take control of my own career and try to be one of the greats as opposed to mirroring. I really like what you said there, actually. So, all right, let's go with Tom Sleigh. So, do you need me to repeat the question for you? Here, I got it.
Yeah, I think you got it. Whatever. Go ahead.
What advice would you give me or any other wrestler or any other wrestlers in the program today about the college wrestling experience of Bucknell?
Yeah, so I got two quick things for you. I guess the first thing, whatever your goal is, whether your goal is to be an EIWA placement or a national champ, whatever it is, I just want you to do everything possible to get there and do it. And even in the hardships, like sometimes you're just not going to want to go to practice or something like that. But make sure you do everything possible, because after it's all done, and you might have a year left or 2 years left, you might think you have all the time in the world, but you don't. I promise you that. And when you get out, it's done. You don't have a second chance. You don't have a third chance at it. So I just want you to be afterwards saying, hey, I don't have any regrets with what I did. I did everything possible to get there, and period. Because if you have any regrets, you got to live with that for the rest of your life, and you can't change that. And that's the worst thing possible. And the second thing is whatever your goal is, truly believe you can get there. You can say you want to be a national champ, but you got to truly believe it in yourself that you can be there. Because if you don't believe it, when the opportunity comes, you're not even going to come close to it. So two things, just don't have any regrets and truly believe in yourself.
All right. I'm not like you said it perfectly. And of course, like with the career that you had, like you can tell that's something that you lived by. Like, I know you don't have no regrets, and I know that you did everything you could. And so awesome. I think that was perfectly said.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Victor, are you good to do you want me to repeat the question for you?
I'm good.
All right.
No, I think I understood the question.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I would agree with everything that Stolfi and Sleigh said. It's almost like hearing from your coaches. You're going to hear 100 different stories, and they're all important. And I guess from my perspective, just to add something new, would be just trying to make sure you're always doing the right thing. And I always remember hearing that, just make sure you're doing the right thing, do the right thing. But it's always hard to tell what the right thing is, or maybe not always. I mean, there's some situations where it's very obvious, but in the cases where it's not obvious, for example, nutrition or your sleeping habits, one thing that I picked up early on, and I wish I would have picked up even more early on, was kind of making a list of your day, of what you're going to do, what time you're going to wake up, what time you're going to go to sleep, what you're going to eat for lunch, what you're going to eat for breakfast. That way, if you're pretty consistent in what you do every day, all of a sudden, if you don't feel good one day and you did something different from your usual schedule, you could point at that and say, oh, that's why I wasn't feeling good during practice. That's why I didn't have the energy to study. So like say you fell asleep at 11 o'clock one day instead of 9:30. You can blame it on that, and then all of a sudden you get back on track at 9:30. So kind of treating it like an experiment, treating yourself like an experiment, seeing what works for you and what doesn't. It's not going to be the same as every guy. That's it. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Experiment around. I again, like I was doing that this year, working through that whole entire process. So I just think it's really cool to actually hear you guys say that back and be something that I've been actively trying to work on. And so, like, Smitty, you got your last one of the group. You got to top it off.
All right. Well, I'll kind of break this down in the two different categories here. So, the biggest thing about the college wrestling experience, everything at Bucknell, is just cherish your time there. I mean, these guys can ask you on the screen right now. I call them at least once every other week, just to check in, because these guys are my best friends. Even ask Coach Warrensberger on my way back from Pittsburgh to here at West Point, that Bucknell was my midway. I stopped and chatted for probably 2 hours with you, Coach. And so I do truly miss everyone on this screen. And I wish I could see them more, but we all get busy. But like I said, I still make it a point about every 2 weeks, call these guys, check in, make sure they're doing well, and obviously they are. And then for the second half of that, the wrestling wise, Zach, obviously I know you very well. We kind of grew up together. Is just keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Trust yourself. Trust your coaches. Obviously, I trained with you last summer. I've known you, like I said, a long time. And for you, Stud, you just keep doing what you're doing.
All right. I love it. I love it. You guys have great advice so far, honestly. That's all I can say is I'm taking this in just as much as we're using this, and so I'm loving it all. So,
well, great. Thanks, Zach, for asking the question, and I'll move on to another question that I have for each of you guys. But before that, I guess I wanted to say just how much. I'll say it again. I've said it a few times. How much I love you guys, right? But there's a reason why my family wanted to come and see you guys, right? And my kids, because when you guys were going through the program, they were smaller kids. I just remember every night I'd come home from practice, or almost every night, and my boys would, all three of them, Chase, Max, and Cade, would go down the basement. They'd put anklets on and they'd say, all right, you're Tyler Smith, I'm Victor Lopez. All right, I'm Tom Sleigh, you're Joe Stolfi. I'm going to be Paul Pett. They wanted to be you guys when they wrestled, so they'd go play wrestle at night and pretend to be each of you guys. And I probably have told you guys that story in the past, but it's something that I cherish as a dad and I'll never forget, right? And that's why they wanted to see you guys, and my family loves you guys so much. You meant a lot to my family as far as through the years, so I just needed to say that.
I'm sure Tyler Smith's hand got raised every time against Victor, right?
I don't know. Sleigh won some of those battles down there, I think.
95% of them.
Very supportive to all of us, and it was very apparent, and it was very motivating along the way as well. They were just as invested as you were, as we were. We all were.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. It's really cool because I just know how much it means to me as a dad watching my boys idolize you guys. So I'll start, Victor, with you. What was your most memorable experience? If you want to give more than one, you can. But what was your most memorable experience as part of the Bucknell wrestling program?
I think in terms of competition, that one is fairly easy for me to kind of know which one it is, just because it was a guy who ended up becoming my coach, Dan Neff. I wrestled him a total of, I think, 5 times in my career. Him being I think he was my very first match when we wrestled against Lock Haven. I think he's with Lock Haven. I forget now. But the very first match, he was beating me like, 9-3, and I came back to tie it, and then he beat me by a point or so or two. And then we wrestled 3 more times to beat me each time by a point or two. And then finally I wrestled him at the national tournament my junior year, and I was able to wrestle him first match, I believe, and I pinned him first match. That was probably my biggest, one of my favorite wins as a competitor. But I think as a athlete or just like a student of the game, man, there are so many moments in the room. I think probably there was one time when we were doing those goes in the room, those live wrestling match for like 30 minutes. When I finally stopped your single leg, you would hit that sweeping single leg on me, 30 times in a row, and I couldn't stop it. And finally, I think it was like maybe a month and a half or 2 months into it, I finally stopped it. And then you had to switch up your leg attack to go somewhere else. So I was pretty excited about that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, Neff. Oh, I'll never forget that match at Nationals when you pinned me there. That was fun.
Yeah, that was probably the best moment ever.
That was a lot of fun. And then he ended up coaching. He's a good coach. Neff does
great coach. Yeah.
Great coach. Really good coach.
Yeah.
Smitty, talk to us about your most memorable experience.
All right, you guys probably aren't gonna believe me on this one since I'm sitting here wearing an Army shirt. But it was my senior year, 2018 Bucknell Army duel. Yeah. It came down the wire. We had something like 7 or 8 starters out, like something absolutely bonkers. And we're about to pull up this great upset. I mean, Army had a great team that year, and we had that heavyweight match. Old Brandon Stokes with the bulk job almost came down to it, but that duel was intense. Like, I think there was a big crowd that time. That was a really fun duel to me. I think that might have been my senior send out. I got to celebrate my 100th win that duel as well. And but yeah, that was a really fun back and forth, just each guy going tit for tat at each other. That was a great experience, just competition wise, like Victor said. But then overall, like I said, just getting every day to spend with these guys. I remember sitting in the cafeteria with Victor for 6 hours after practice, or sitting on the couch with Stolfi, or sleeping in the same room as Sleigh. Just always being with these guys, and I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to share that experience with. So thank you all.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's so many good Davis Gym is a great venue to wrestle in. We always seem to step up and perform well and fight hard and battle hard in Davis. So there's a lot of good memories and matches in there. Sleigh, what you got?
Yeah, so this is no shots on anybody on the call, but I remember, I think it was my sophomore year in practice. I think we were doing just some live goes or something. And I think Smitty took down Victor, and Smitty was all hyped. He was running around the room holding up 2, and he told everybody in the room that he scored 2 points. And I was like, all right, this guy's out of hand. And I remembered Smitty goes down the next round, and Victor gets on top, and Warrens is on the other side of the room. And I look over, and Victor has Smitty in some MMA move, and Smitty's yelling. I see Coach running across the room trying to pick it up, kind of laughing but kind of serious at the same time. But those 2 battling all the time was my favorite, just to watch him go at it. But that time was funny. So
yeah, that's a good memory. I don't remember that specifically, but I do remember that Victor and Tyler just being really competitive in the practice room. That's what made them great, right? That's what made them great, have great careers. Tom, Stolf, same way. Hartman, same way. They're as competitive in practice as they are in competition. I would say no one, Victor used to be, he tried to kill you in practice. No matter who it was. It could have been, the walk-on on the team, or, you're my guy on the team, and Victor wanted to rip his head off. But that's what made him great. He just never held back. He wanted to compete at no matter what he was doing. So that's interesting. But Smitty was the same way. He used to torture some dudes. I shouldn't say torture.
It's a healthy competition. I love it. Your best friend's out of the room, but in the room, I hate you type of deal thing. So.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be, battling in there, and then Bud's outside of there. Stove.
Yeah, it's funny. thinking back to one experience is tough. That one Sleigh just brought up is one I haven't thought of in a while. And I remember the flip of Smitty celebrating his two. And at the end, he's like, they're trying to break my arm. And that was good. But yeah, so thinking back to one experience is tough. It's when I find myself talking to, these guys and old teammates, it's always just like electricity. One story, and then it just 3 hours later, we're on like the 15th story, and it's just one after the other. And there's always, so many memories. So I think when I think of the most memorable experience, I think of the guys I did it with. I think of, these other three. I think of the other, however other many guys I've wrestled with. I was fortunate enough to get the 5th year, so I even had a wider range of teammates. And, the relationships that I developed with these guys, they'll forever be my family. Just kind of piggyback off of what Smitty said.
That's great. That is really great. The relationships that you guys develop is phenomenal. At this point, I'll turn it over to Zach if you want to ask, because I know Victor's going to have to go here pretty soon. So maybe you can even start with him if you want to ask your last question, and then I'll finish with one as we finish up here. So just a couple more questions, one from Zach and then one from myself.
Yeah, I just have a general question. So what would what advice do you have with like networking and trying to find the right job outside of Bucknell? Like what advice would you give, or like how did you go about that?
That's a good one. I'm actually still practicing that right now, starting to figure that out now. Now I'm thinking about getting back into the workforce. I got really lucky, like I said, or maybe I haven't said it, but I always think about it, how lucky I got to develop a relationship with Bill Graham, who close to my senior year, he started talking to me. And there was another lucky moment that happened when Coach Wernsberger asked me to speak at the inauguration for the facility. And I got to speak there in front of, I think it was close to 100 people, maybe a little bit more than that. And after that is when I really caught Bill Graham's eye. He really started talking to me after that, saying, "Hey, you did a great job in that speech. What are your grades like? I already know you're a great competitor from your accolades in wrestling." And I could continue to develop that relationship through the wrestling program and through Wernsberger as well. And I got lucky to get a job at his company the following year once I graduated. And then that relationship has continued, and he's honestly really, really great. And then like I said, he helped me get this job out in La Jolla. And wrestling, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get connections through wrestling. And not only that, but Bucknell Wrestling, I've actually met already about 3 guys out here in San Diego who are very, they're in these higher places. Some of them are lawyers, businessmen, CEOs, all this stuff. And I've developed some relationships out here just through that. So even if you just send them a message on like LinkedIn saying, "Hey, we both wrestled at the same school. We went, we did this and that." And anybody that wrestles, they're going to want to talk to you. Wrestlers love other wrestlers for the most part. So that's my advice for networking.
Awesome. Thank you so much on that. Sleigh, let's hear about what advice you have with networking outside and like trying to find that right job outside of Bucknell.
Yeah, my advice is kind of like what Victor said. It's not, don't want to say easy, but it's nice having the wrestling background, because you're always going to find wrestlers. They know how hardworking you are. So if you have that on your resume, they're going to take at least a second look at you. But the biggest thing for me was just, always be energetic, be nice, be yourself when you're out in public, just because you never know when that opportunity is going to come, that a future employer that you don't even know yet might be walking down the road and see you do something nice instead of doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And then just never push anybody away. If you might be walking off the mat after a bad loss, you might not be in the right mindset, and a guy might come up and talk to you, and that might be your future employer. So just, never push anybody off, and just always be yourself.
Awesome. I've actually never even thought about like the fact that one of my opponents like that I'm wrestling could be like a future employer. I actually never thought about it like that. So awesome. Smitty.
Yes, so like I said earlier, obviously me being a Division I wrestling coach now, I was very fortunate. As soon as my time was done at Bucknell, I was getting multiple phone calls for job interviews, and I was very fortunate to head down there at VMI with Coach Gibson. But I think it was more just how I carried myself on the mat. Wrestling at a high level, you're going to get a lot of coaches' attentions that are sitting in the stands or standing on the side of the mat waiting for their wrestler to go out there and wrestle in the semifinals of the EIW tournament. I think it was just not only tenacity, but you never saw me crying to the ref or, doing something a little dirty or questionable after the whistle, for the most part. And, and that's what I think it was, just how I carried myself. And that led me to, honestly, my dream job. I don't plan on ever leaving this business. I only plan on working my way up, and it's just going to go up because of the way I continue to carry myself now.
Awesome. Yeah. Carrying, like, the way that you carry yourself on the mat and off is like that's the biggest thing with, I think, getting the job. So I feel like you hit that right on the head with that. So Stolfi, let's what advice you got for us with finding that right job outside of Bucknell?
Yeah. So when I think of, considering a job, I think what you got to do is look at companies that are going to invest as much into you as you're going to invest into them. I recommend looking for a place that you don't just see as a job. When I think of a job, I think of something that is temporary. When I think of a career, I think of something that's long-term and sustaining. So I would recommend look for a place that you don't just see as a job or just see as a temporary hold, but a place that you could truly build a career on, depending on what industry it might be. Just somewhere that's going to have the tools and resources to help you grow and where you can be your best self. In terms of networking, I think of two types of networking. I think of in-person networking and then, actively reaching out to people. So when I think of the in-person networking, I like to say, what would Tom Sleigh do? Tom Sleigh is a true gentleman. And you don't want to be the drunkest girl at the party. You want to really carry yourself appropriately and focus on making connections with somebody, because you never know where someone's going to end up. And if you end up at the same places and continue to talk to the same people that are like-minded, eventually that's going to be a network that pays off for you. In terms of, developing a true network outside of just in-person networking, don't be afraid to reach out to people if there's a purpose and a reason why you would want to reach out to them. If there's a company that you know a lot about and you think, wow, I really like the values of this company, I really think this is a place I could be successful, reach out to their leadership team, reach out to HR, reach out to their CEO. Just like if you were a high school athlete, I would recommend, if you really like a school, you should reach out to that coach and start to develop that relationship. Because the worst thing that can happen is they just ignore you. But if you continue to reach out professionally and not every second of every day, but professionally persistent, I like to call it, you'll be surprised at the results you find. And especially within the Bucknell network, there's hardly anybody that will ignore you. Almost everybody will at least take a 15-minute call where you can introduce yourself, but just be thoughtful, do your research on the front end, and have a thoughtful talk track when you do connect with them.
I think all that was well said, especially the guys that are on the call right now. Like, you guys are all set up. You guys are set up very well outside of college already, like almost instantaneously. And so I knew you guys would have great advice to give. And so I'm going to toss it back to Coach now.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. That was awesome. Thanks for those questions. And Stolf, that was awesome. Thank you, all you guys. Last question from me. And Victor, we can start with you again, if that's all right. Who was the teammate you admired the most throughout your career here at Bucknell? Who was the teammate you admired the most? Maybe there was more than one. Maybe there was just once.
Oh, yeah, that is tough. I think everyone on this call had their own personal things that I really looked up to. I remember one of my favorite right away, I think, was Paul Petrov. He's, loves to talk. He could talk to anybody. He could talk to you can talk to a tree for 3 hours. That guy, always talking, right? But I just remember right away when I got there, he was like teching kids. This is my first year in college, and I could barely win a match by a point or two. And there he was teching kids. So I thought that was just fantastic. I was like, how the heck can he do that? And then finally, I really looked at him when I saw the way he trained. I saw what he did outside the room. He was always in the library studying. So I really, really did look up to Paul. Another guy, obviously, Stolfi. There are some things he said that were different to the way that I thought. But for some reason, the first time he said it, like, it would upset me. Then all of a sudden, I really think, I was like, oh, I see where he's coming from. And that makes perfect sense. There was one time in a meeting where he's like, find your why. Like, why are you working? Like, whether it's your family and all this stuff. And Stolfi said, no, I want to win for myself. And at the beginning, I was like, because I always worked hard for my family. Like, I did everything for this. But then finally it clicked, like, yeah, there should be this internal motivation that makes me want to win for myself. So I really valued that. And obviously, Sleigh, one of the nicest people you can meet. and then Smitty over here. That dude's just a gamer. You can't ever count him out of anything, any kind of competition. So, I love to see him compete.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's hard to pick, so I apologize for adding everybody there, but it's hard.
That's because you're a real nice. You're a gentleman too. You're one of the good boys.
Yeah, one of them. Hopefully.
Smitty, who is someone or some people, or maybe it's one, maybe it's two, maybe it's three that you admired the most?
Yeah, just to piggyback off what Victor said, every single one of these guys on the screen, and then even the unsung heroes, like Brendan McAllister, someone that really pops into my mind when I think about this is Ben Bliss.
Yeah.
People probably wouldn't even think me and him were friends ever, but we actually lived together my senior year. Anytime I need an extra workout at 8:00 at night, the day before dual meet, I'd call Ben Bliss, and he could be swamped in homework, and he would always come. Of course, Smitty, thanks for having me, and just let me pretty much terrorize him, and still just wake up the next day, oh, hey, good morning, good luck today, and if you need anything, let me know. And he was my senior year was, my best year too, and I owe a lot of it to him.
Yeah,
I really do.
You're right, man. That's really well said. And you're not the only one that said this on these calls. It's not just, the guy that has done the best that a lot of these people looked up to or admired. Is the guys that just saw it through, stuck it through for 4 years, even if they were second string, third string, whatever it might be, man. It's something to look up to, right? I don't know if maybe you guys, I don't know if I could say that I could do that and wrestle Division I for 4 years and not be the guy, right? It's a hard sport. It's a hard business. So yeah, that's well said, Smitty. Sleigh.
Yeah, kind of like Smitty and Victor said, there's so many kids that just pop into mind that, just two of them that, that just weren't the guys all the time were, like Logan Karen and Chad Reese. They always got in there and worked hard, really hard, and that motivated me to work hard. But also two guys on this call, including Victor as well. But, Smitty and I always had that I call it a healthy competition. If Smitty won, I was happy for him, but I wanted to win too. And if I lost, I was so mad that, he was, I hate to say it, but doing better than me. But it's what drove me to do better. And at the same time, if, Smitty lost, I saw how worked up he was about it. And I was like, I don't want to experience that. I'm going to go out there and kick this kid's butt. So Smitty and I had that healthy competition. And even after practices, we didn't practice it all together, but I remember looking over at him and seeing him dying. So I wanted to die in practice as well. And then same with Stolfi. He was a huge helper of mine. He always knew when I was struggling, and he always, took the time out of his day, even though he was the guy at the time when I was on the team and I kind of wasn't. He always came down and helped me out and asked me, how you doing, that kind of thing. And just seeing him have fun on the mat instead of, it's almost like he didn't take it serious half the time. He was out there dancing, but he was pinning kids at the same time. And so just him having fun out there on the mat just helped me have fun as well. So.
That's Tom. That's awesome. It almost mimics what you just said. Mimics what LaValle said about Rendos the other day. He said that it took him about a year, but he figured it out. He said he just started If Rendos did well, he wanted to do better. And if he saw Rendos get up at 5:40, because Rendos was sneaky. He'd get up at like 5:45 a.m. He wouldn't take any of his teammates with him. He just kind of wanted to do it on his own. LaValle would follow him to the gym. He would follow him to the stadium. Whatever he did, he just tried to mimic what he did and tried to one-up it. That's really interesting that you say that, you know?
That's why I started living with Smitty, so he couldn't pull a fast one on me.
That's good stuff, man. That's a it's really interesting. Stolf, we'll end it with you here.
Yeah, these are all very tough acts to follow because everything everybody said is spot on. And I think for me, something that was really eye-opening is, you know, when you enter in the college, you have some of the older guys that you look up to. Like I think particularly of like a Corey Lear, Joe McMullen, Regan. They were all guys I looked up to at that time. And then as I continued to go through the career, like my career, you know, I think, okay, now I'm coming into that role as leader, and these younger guys are coming in, and they're just, you know, very admirable. You know, like Victor, Sleigh, Smitty were just unapologetically themselves. Smitty especially, and they all had something that I admired from. You know, I think of guys in my class like, you know, Lister, Orecchio. I look at the class I was adopted into with Chuck, who pushed me every single day to be better. And it's hard to pick just one. And I think if I had to pick one, I have to pick my little guy, Paul Petrov, as well. Just as Victor said, we had obviously a lot of differences. I think about 130 pounds difference. but Paul, in my mind, always exemplified what the Bucknell student athlete was. He made everybody around him a better person. He was slightly annoying, but, you know, he did everything right. And always kept me positive and motivated. And you know, all these guys, just like Petrov, I admired their style of wrestling and tried to pick pieces of it that I could incorporate into my style. It's very, very hard. I like to think that every single person that I wrestled with, I took a piece of them and modeled myself off of them. I picked the good things, not the bad things.
Yeah, thanks. Well, this was great. This was a great hour going down memory lane. It brings back a lot of memorable experiences, I know, for me with you guys. And thanks for taking the time and being here. I really appreciate it. I'll turn it over to Nuke.
Thanks, Coach. I want to start with Zach. Zach, thanks for taking the time tonight to be on the call with us. Stay healthy. Good luck this semester. And, you know, next semester when you're wrestling out there, and we're keeping our fingers crossed you have a competitive season, we will all be in your corner pulling for you and your teammates. So good luck with that. And to the alums, you know, Coach mentioned it already, what great representatives you are of the program and everything you've done for Bucknell, both while you were here and since. It's great to see you all doing so well in your careers. And, you know, I wasn't even your coach, but it makes me proud as an administrator here at the university to see what you are all doing and how you're representing yourselves. You really are outstanding human beings, and I appreciate that. And I also want to say thank you in advance for what you're going to continue to do for the program. You know, we can't do what we do with any of our programs, but most certainly the wrestling program without the support of our alumni, and it's been great throughout the years. So guys, thanks a lot for joining us. And then for those of you at home that tuned in tonight, thanks for doing that, and go Bison.